Welcome, everybody. How are you today? Couple first things first. I want to make sure everybody received one of these little Turning Technologies response cards, affectionately known as clickers.
Yes.
Everybody got a clicker? Good. No, I can't see any of you guys. All right. Good afternoon. My name is Dan Davichak. I'm with Central Community College in Columbus, Nebraska. I'm the project manager for Project Impact.
Hello, my name is Colleen Nienaber. I work for Central Community College in Columbus, Nebraska, and I am the site coordinator for the Project Impact Grant.
Hi, I'm Robert Caldwell with Metropolitan Community College in Omaha, Nebraska, and I am the site coordinator here for Project Impact.
Hi, I'm Beth Bavrina, and I'm the site coordinator at Southeast Community College in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Well, good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, I should say. I saw some more folks that walked in. I think we get some people who do not have a clicker in hand right now. It's the clicker. If you don't have one of these, raise your hand. Do you have one, sir? You do. All right, very good. All right. I'm Dan Davichak, and what you saw was my avatar in a virtual world called Second Life. We're going to talk about Second Life a little bit, but first, before we get into this a little, we're going to use these clickers that gives us a little bit of an idea, and we'll modify as necessary our presentation to be able to maybe address things that you are specifically wanting to be aware of. There's a lot of stuff that we have going on in our project, and 45 minutes doesn't really do it justice to cover anything in any great detail, but so be it with that. Let's get into the clicker a little bit. Okay. Now, you just push the number that corresponds to what you represent. And we'll do this kind of quick. And if you haven't done it before, just push the number that goes to what I represent. And I've got 20 responses right now. I think that's probably about right. And it looks like most of us are from two-year schools. 85% of the people, or the 15% of the other, what are you with? Who is it? Okay. Tooling you? All right. Next question. What part of the country are you from? All right. And it looks like most of us are from the Midwest. That's a broad statement, though, depending on how you qualify yourself as Midwest. With my team, we're from Nebraska, and most Nebraskans consider themselves Midwesterners, but people in Indiana and Ohio might consider us more Plains or Western U.S. All right, the reason I'm here, are you DOL, are you NSF, are you here to learn about open educational resources, etc.? Okay. So, most of us are here to learn about ideas for the program. 35% of us here are for your DOL TACT activity. So we have a lot of DOL grantees in here, and we have 10% of the people in the room that are from NSF activity. Okay. In my region, this is a little bit about your business. What kind of environment do you have for hiring workers and training workers? Some of the strategies we use in Nebraska are different because our unemployment is, for the third month in a row, the lowest in the country. We have virtual full functional employment. All right, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So most of you have an environment where businesses are hiring only workers with specific skill sets. A quarter of you are hiring anybody they can find, and 16% are hiring workers with good interpersonal skills and training them. 5% have businesses closing or moving out. Good to know, good to know. All right. A little bit about Project Impact. We are a Round 2 DOL TEC grant. It's a consortium grant, and we have 5 community colleges and the University of Nebraska at Lincoln that are partners. We have a 4-year, $5.6 million TEC grant, and we're serving the manufacturing sector. And the map depicts the locations of the community colleges. And the purpose of the TAC program, most of you are from TAC background from the survey, so I won't go into great detail there, but we're looking to serve adult workers. Now, TAA eligible workers and veterans are the 2 main emphases that we have on the DOL's intent. However, there is room to classify other adult populations because, as I'd mentioned, Nebraska has a very short unemployment. We have pockets of areas that have higher needs, but for the most part, we are looking to upskill or retrain workers that are out in the workforce so they can get better paying jobs. And of course, those high demand, high job, high wage skills. The TAC program, as most of you are aware and some of you aren't, it's a program where you're trying to develop a lattice stacked, flexible kind of a curriculum. The 5 community colleges in our consortium jointly developed a diversified manufacturing technology certificate that is aligned with Manufacturing Standard Skills Council's Certified Production Technician credential. Each of those 4 modules that are part of the MSSC, the Safety, Quality, Production, and Maintenance, has a certification test. And we have courses that are aligned with each of those. They are using resources that we've either developed or we've worked with. And my esteemed colleagues, who you saw their avatars, are going to elaborate on that a little bit here shortly. We have a lot of information on our website, and you should have received a card that has a bunch of website links and QR codes. This entire presentation, less the questions, and some of the resources that we have with the grant are found on that website. There are also some other QR code things that are of note on there. Okay. The certificate that we all jointly articulate and we develop collectively leads into 8 different pathways. And those pathways are listed up here. They're different for each of the colleges. Some colleges only have a couple of them. Some of them have 5 or 6 of them. I think even one has all 8 of them. But the pathways that we have are machining, mechatronics or electromechanical, quality, drafting, welding, instrumentation, energy, and then a full-on diversified manufacturing technology certificate that leads into a diploma and into an AAS degree that's into diversified manufacturing. With that, I'm going to turn it over a little bit on some of the ideas and innovations that we have with the grant. And with that, I'll bring up, you've met the avatar already. Now you have
a much better looking avatar.
Yeah, much better looking avatar. I don't know about that, but Robert Caldwell, and they want us to speak in the mic since they are,
that's
are
right.
videoing us.
So one question I have for you guys: how many of you guys have advanced or coaching or navigating services as part of your grant program? Okay, so that's what I'm going to talk about here. Is talk about some of our innovations that we did with our coaching or navigation services. So we've been doing this grant for about 4 years, and one thing that we did just recently was brainstorm what is the ideal model for coaching or navigation services. So we have 5 coaches within our consortium, and we all got together and we came up with this 3-phase coaching model. So the first phase for a coach would be that recruitment. So this would be participating with career fairs, meeting with human service agencies, getting out there and trying to recruit, working with advisors internally at the college to try to build awareness on the program to try to recruit participants into the program. So that's one phase of the first phase of the coaching. The second phase, which I think is the bulk of the position, is the retention phase. And retention, I consider, it's almost like a case management. If you guys are familiar with like a human service agency, that's the way I look at it. So at a college, traditionally a coach, what we consider a best practice, would be the retention would be a few things. First off, soft skill development. So that could be workshops. So for example, we developed 12 workshops, such as like conflict resolution, financial management, things along those lines to help students develop those soft skills, which is important for employers. Another thing would be to be almost like an academic advisor. So you understand the basics of the college processes, and you can steer the students in the right direction, whether it be with financial aid or with getting registered for classes. Another thing would be a community service referral. So one thing is it's important to have a wide network of community agencies that you work with, because you never know when the participants that you're working with will need that referral. For example, it could be an actual counselor. So and as a coach, I've referred people to actually counseling agencies. Or it could be someone who needs financial assistance. It could vary, but those are all things that coaches do for retention. So that, to me, that's the biggest bulk of the coaching position. The third phase would be actually the job placement. Now, a lot of times with these workforce training programs, the bottom line is to educate our workforce to advance their skills, to put them in positions with our employers. So it's very important that the coach is that connection piece to connect the participants in the grant directly with employers. So that's first and foremost starts with one-on-one meetings with employers to just raise the awareness of what the deliverables are, what the competencies that you're training, so they understand what type of candidate they're getting when you refer a participant directly to them. And so just very quickly, it seems very basic, but it's very important. It's a good model to just kind of take a wide breadth of what a coach does and simplify it in this 3-phase model, okay? Now looking a little closer, I'm going to talk about a retention program that we developed at Metropolitan Community College. This was an incentive program, and this is definitely a retention piece. And now I handed out this menu to everybody, and everyone's kind of like, what is this thing? Well, that is a menu that participants in this program, all the students would get that when they came in. And the participants essentially would voluntarily enroll in this incentive program we call it Impact Change. And the participants could earn those little dollars, the kind of monopoly money I showed you. They could earn that by either getting involved with the program or schooling, or through academic achievement. And we did that for about a year and a half, and we had pretty good results. We just wrapped it up. We funded it through a mini grant. So what students could do with those little monopoly money is that they would work directly with me as the coach, and they would come in and they would cash that in depending on how much impact change they accrued over the quarter or over the term. And at the end of the term, they settled up with me. We went over their grades. We looked at what program involvement they've done. And then depending on how much they've accrued, they could cash that in for actual tools. So these are tools that, first off, are not covered through financial aid and not covered through VA or other educational benefits. So this is a benefit. This is an incentive to the student. And a tool, depending on how much money they've accrued, they can turn that into real dollars that they can spend on one tool or supply for their class. The stipulation was it had to be for the classwork, the classroom, or for employment. So students did this throughout there, and it really had great results. I'm going to go over some of the results with you. We did a very brief study, comparison cohort of our participants, and we had 30 participants in the program. And from that cohort, in comparison to all students that are enrolled in what we consider a manufacturing degree pathway, we had a 4.6% higher course completion rate with the participant cohort. We also had a 1.9% increased pass-fail rate in comparison to the comparison cohort. So there was some quantitative evidence that this did help with retention. Now on the qualitative side, we also had some really telling results. First and foremost, 7 of 8 students of the participants were eligible to join an honor society. Now, I don't know how it is at your colleges, but joining these clubs or these honor societies, a lot of students have that opportunity or may be eligible for that, and they don't take advantage of it. We especially have that problem with our trade programs. So we had, of 8 students that qualified were eligible for the National Technical Honor Society, 7 of those 8 actually joined the Honor Society. Paid $50, joined it. And to me, that's a telling result. A few other stats, 11 of our participants applied for scholarships, another thing that we have an issue with, not enough students applying for scholarships. 4 of them joined Phi Theta Kappa. 11 students attended a workshop. So if you see there, they're called the Impact Workshops. One of the incentive items was for students to come to the soft skill development workshop. So that was an incentive for them to go to that. So we had 11 of the students that went to that. 6 students engaged in community service activities. And one other thing is that, whoops, I pressed the clicker by accident. One other thing that I think is more telling is that, as a participant coach, I had flexibility to award participants or give them the opportunity to do things that maybe aren't on that menu right there. So for example, I had a student, I was talking with him, and he had 5 years of back taxes. And what I did was I said, well, I know this agency, VITA, if you guys are familiar with VITA services. Well, I said, you go to VITA and they will help you take care of your back taxes for 5 years. I said, if you go there within 1 week and you let me know, then I will give you, I don't know what it was, 300 impact change. The student did it, took care of all of his taxes. So it may be just a small incentive, but these little incentive, it did work in small factions, okay? Okay, another thing that we did I think was really a big success was we hosted a kickoff event. And this is an awareness piece. So what we did is we invited people throughout the community. It was internal and external parties were invited to this. So we invited human service agencies. We invited employers. We had 8 employers there. We had high school counselors we invited. And actually about half of our attendees, of about 100 people, I'm not kidding, 100 people came to this, were from internally at the college, which I think is very important. So we had academic advisors, academic counselors, we had some faculty, we had administrators there. And it really was because, we have a college, we have over 18,000 students, we have 8 campus locations at our college. So it's tough to get this information out to everybody at the college. And this was a great way to get them in there, everybody at one event, and just teach them about what the deliverables are of this grant. So we thought it was a huge success. And the format for it, we did 4 things really. First was we talked about the grant deliverables. We educated them on what the grant is, what type of program we're developing, what are the competencies. The second thing we did was that we brought in our faculty member, and he actually demoed the curriculum. And this was important, particularly for employers. Employers could see what exactly are we teaching. The third thing we did was we highlighted 4 of our students. So we actually gave 4 of our students that went through the program, brought them on stage, and the employers, everybody got to see that it's important sometimes to actually show people, hey, we have people in this program, they're real people, and they're graduating from this. So we got a chance to highlight those students. And the fourth thing we did was we did an optional classroom tours. Now part of our grant was, at all the colleges, was to purchase a few $1 million in equipment. I think we had about $450,000 in equipment that we purchased to upgrade our manufacturing classrooms. Well, we had a chance to give classroom tours and tour all people from throughout the community, including internal people, advisors who may not have ever seen that, ever even known about what our manufacturing programs offer, and get a chance to showcase those things. I actually have a few pictures from the event. Those are the students that we highlighted there. We're doing classroom tours there, and as you can see, just And that was the format. It's very simple, but it was a very effective model that we used to raise awareness in the community, internally and externally, of our program. Okay? I guess I'll pass it off to the next person. Beth. Thank you.
Which is I'm one of those people that's reached that age where I have to check how the clicker works with my glasses on, but I can't see with them. As we all know, it doesn't really matter how good your training program is if you don't engage the students. So there are a lot of different ways we've done that. Robert has talked about a lot of the kind of the big things we did, but the other thing we did was we tried to set up the curriculum so that the curriculum itself, the materials themselves, were engaging. We used Tooling U as our textbook, and the instructors were really reluctant about that at first, and then they got started and they go, wow, this is great. The other part of it is, once they have a year's license, they can get through all 4 of the courses, and they only have to buy one. At this point, the grant is paying for it, but there's only one Tooling U license that they need to get through the entire program. Everything, just continues down there. We use Second Life, as you've seen, for some supplemental pieces. Colleen will talk more about how we use it, but it's some supplemental materials for the program, also some recruiting. Second Life is amazing for catching the interest of potential students, especially the younger ones. And just a lot of things designed to get the interest of the students. Trying to remember not to be the sage on the stage, but the guide on the side. That's especially the role of the coach, is to be that guide to help them through, to present things in little incremental pieces, expecting the students to come to class prepared. That is part of the reason we use Tooling U. The students are given an assignment, they work through that. When they come back into the classroom, then the instructor can teach them the hands-on pieces, can review what they've learned, help them make corrections, help them understand things that they didn't quite get. Just kind of allowing the student needs to guide the activities. Part of the thing with coaching is to think of it a lot like the onboarding that you expect an employer to do. That it isn't just one day of, here's a tour of our facility and I'll introduce you to a few people. But really good onboarding keeps on going over the course of a year or more, potentially. And that's part of the role of being a coach, being an instructor within the program, and even being the site coordinators. Working with people who have questions and keeping them on track, setting up some of the workshops and learning those soft skills. The other piece we do that is a little bit different is, started out as that KSAO, the knowledge, skills, abilities, and other characteristics. We're pretty good at teaching the basic, here's this tool, here's how you use it, here's the formula you need to figure something out. But there are so many of those other pieces, as you've heard here, as you've heard in all the other workshops, all those other pieces of being a good employee. One of the pieces we use is Ergos, and that's a physical capacity testing. This is one that we work through the University of Nebraska. It's available to anybody, and there are a number of employers who use it, but it helps a student understand what their physical capabilities are, what their stamina is. Some of these things you do over and over and over as part of the testing. So you have to click this one little thing 500 times. The students get really frustrated with that because it takes a long time and they don't see the point. But once you get the results back, you can say, they find people who have you had a sports injury. and you thought it was all healed, but you've got a weakness here. And it's something you need to be thinking about if you're going to stay in this career, because this particular career is going to stress that joint. So maybe you need to do some exercise. Maybe you need to think of a different career. There are upper extremities, pushing, pulling, lifting, your eye-hand coordination. There are also some fine motor, hand strength, pinch, that are all pieces of the test. And that's one of those things we're just starting to get back to students, so we haven't really seen a lot of results on it yet, but there were a few students that have gone through it that they were able to say, you know, you need to be thinking about this if you're looking at this career, because this is something that's going to give you problems down the road. It happens to be really easy to use. It's attached to a door, or you sit on a table. The computer piece that goes with it can set up anywhere. She has it on a bookcase in this particular instance because that was where she had a space to work with it. So it can be set up really easily. Then the other piece that we do is a behavioral battery. And looking at that psychological capital, HERO, which is the hope, efficacy, resiliency, and optimism. And it does help with the retention, with completion, because we're looking at a number of different things that tend to get in the way of students getting through it. So many students, especially at community college level, are working. They may be married and have kids. They have trouble making it, you know, if you're working and going to school, you may not be making enough to take care of the rent. You're stressing over whether or not, if you're coming back to school, can I really handle being a college student at 30 or 40 or 50 years old? So this helps give them a starting place on what do I need to work on? What's going to be stressing me out? How can I start working it? What other resources might need to come into play? Our behavioral battery takes a while for students to do, but it includes the ONET interest survey, COPE survey, accident locus of control, life stressors, psychological capital, Big Five inventory. They're all on one of the handouts there, so I'm not going to go into it all. We have it set up through the university where they are doing it as a single battery of tests, but they're all easily available. The links that are on there are places where you can pull those tests online if you decide you want to use them as they are. You know, each student comes in with a set of natural abilities. They also come in with their intentional, I'm going to learn this. But then there's their circumstances, the things that are going on around them. This is designed to take away barriers that are out there that just your circumstances are making it hard to get through. We also have a contextualized basic skills piece. And there's a link to that on the card, I believe. It's on our website. Basic math, basic English, and they are actually built into our tooling use pieces, and they're aligned with that, so you're working through it. The instructor knows exactly which piece, but they're contextualized academic pieces that go with that. Helps, you know, avoid that discouragement that comes from it. A lot of us, I'm sure a lot of us in this room, we're sitting in high school math class or English class, and we said, why do I need this? How am I going to use this in the real world? Why do I need all of these math formulas or all of this stuff? Because we're not thinking far enough ahead that I need these formulas to do something in the real world. I need to write reports at my job. So the assignments are specifically designed to fit with what they would actually use. These are some tooling use screens, and so then they're working through their class, and then if they have a question, we've got these embedded in here. Some math ones, broken down very, very simply. You know, understand what a 1/16 of an inch is, what an 1/8 of an inch is, what a 1/4 of an inch is, and working through those. They can either be used assignments for everybody or assigned as kind of remedial work for somebody who's having problems. Math questions designed for how far is a screw going in with one turn, how to do payroll. Very relevant to the real world that they would be working in. Same way with the English, reading and writing. You're going to write a report. You're going to write a description of things that you're doing in your job, so that those pieces are tied directly to the course.
While Colleen's stepping out a second, this card that you have, these QR codes and links on here with the website, the contextual basic skills that are on here, the math and English, that are actually assigned or mapped to Tooling U lessons, but whether you have Tooling U and you're using it or you're not, they are pretty good lessons. I have 140 math lessons that are on one big PDF, it's like 70 megabytes, that is on our website for you to download. I have 80 pages of writing assignments that are all standardized and they're vetted and they're in a PDF that's in a separate book. Each of those are, again, aligned with the Tooling U modules, but they can be standalone. I do not have the answer key to the math lessons online. If you want to use that information and you want the answer key, we would be more than happy to send it to you, but you need to get a hold of us. I'm not going to post the answers to the math questions, because if we can figure out where it's coming from, so can the prospective student, and then that kind of makes it pretty easy. So it's available. It's just that it would be something we would send on. We'd set up an FTP link or something, because it's
Need to do show screen.
it's good stuff. It really is good stuff. Additionally, on here on the bottom of this card, there's 5 QR codes.
Because it needs to be a duplicate rather than
These
expand,
QR
I think.
codes are containing over 350 contextual lessons for science, technology, engineering, and math from an NSF ATE project. They're geared at secondary and post-secondary math and science primarily, but it is linked into just little hands-on or little situational problems for each of those lessons. Again, those are all available by scanning in these links, and there's PDFs and there's Excel sheets and Word documents. There's all kinds of things you would need to use those. Please use them and let us know if you're going to use them so that maybe we can partner about doing something else in the future.
Hello, I'm Colleen Nienaber, and my responsibilities on the Project Impact Grant is to help keep that website up to date. And also I help the consortium with their outreach materials and also with Second Life. So let me ask, who's all heard about Second Life before? Awesome. Who's actually used Second Life before? Okay. So a few of you that haven't heard about Second Life, it's actually up in the cloud. It's a web-based program where you basically start out with a square piece of land. It's a green backyard basically, and you build it from scratch. So what we're doing with our project is to help the students learn through Second Life. It's kind of a fun and an exciting way to learn. A lot of you guys might think of more of a gaming aspect of it. So I'm going to show you a few examples of what we've done to help. We've actually went out to the instructors who are teaching our 4 courses for our certificate and said, you are the expert. What are you struggling with to help teach the students what they need to learn? And one of the examples is trying to help teach the students a few of the OSHA standards. They said they'd like to teach them about the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory and have them experience that day with those factory workers. I said, okay, let's build something within Second Life. So I'm going to show you a 2-minute little video clip. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to teleport quickly over to our little building that we've also built.
That's my avatar that she's borrowing for the moment.
Oops, I'm going to have to go backwards here. Okay. Oops. I'm used to walking frontwards, but.
You want to change the
Yeah, if you would,
camera
please.
control?
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
This is the building that we built for one of the classes, the precision tools. But within here, I put a little video out there for you. And on the other side of the island, we have a video clip. Hopefully it'll load here shortly. It's not running on here. I have to plug in mine, Dan. Must not be working on yours.
Why don't you just use the YouTube offline?
I don't have the link for that.
Oop. Sorry.
This is a simulation of the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory. The students log into Second Life with their avatar and sit at one of the sew machines and begin sewing. The instructor then activates the simulation of the fire, and the students need to find their way out of the building. The simulation has fire and smoke that creates the effect of a real-life situation. The building has working elevators and opening windows, allowing the students to choose the option of jumping out the window. As you look around the simulation, you will notice many safety hazards. For example, the fire hoses were not maintained and became brittle and fell apart, and water cans were empty. Factory workers were not allowed breaks, and the only water they had to drink for the day was from the pails of water sitting on the floor. So when the fire broke out, there was no water available to put out the fire. Doorways were blocked with boxes, not allowing easy access to the stairway. The fire escape was not maintained and was broken apart, not allowing an escape route. Many workers tried using the stairway to escape the fire, but once they reached the bottom floor of the building, they perished because the doors were blocked from the outside, therefore not allowing them out of the building. The purpose of this simulation is to allow the students to experience how those workers felt that day the fire broke out. They were one of the workers that needed to find the way out of the burning building, but because of the safety features that were not in place, many perished that day. This allows the students to understand why OSHA standards are so important and must be followed to prevent situations like these. Also built into the back of the simulation is a classroom where the students can watch a YouTube video that talks more in depth of what took place the day the fire broke out. It also includes a testimonial of few people who did survive that day. This simulation is a great interaction tool that helps the instructor teach the students why OSHA standards are so important and why safety standards must be followed.
So that's kind of a fun interaction piece where the students can actually experience that day that fire broke out, and they're expected to get out of that classroom activity. And as you can tell, they weren't able to because of all those OSHA standards that were not put in place those days. So they kind of gave them a feel as if they're there in that situation. So kind of a impact of a learning experience. So.
You want to go back?
Yeah.
to the-
So another piece that we've also done is we've asked the instructors again, what else is it that you need the students to help with? And one of the, or actually from 3 of the colleges, they said, you know, when we're teaching them about precision tools, they just aren't getting how to read the tool correctly. You know, we're going out to the 4th place digit, you know, and they're just not grasping those concepts. Can you help me within Second Life? We said, absolutely. So what we've also built within Second Life is an activity where we've actually taken tools right out of the classroom. We've taken micrometers, dial calipers, all of those kind of instruments, and we actually have YouTube videos, which is displayed over here, and right now we're probably not seeing them because of the wireless, but we'd have a YouTube video streaming in there that shows, like in this example, is a micrometer. It'll teach them how to do the micrometer or how to read their micrometer, and then they come over here and actually do a quiz. And if they click on the quiz, as you can tell, it's actual tools right out of their classroom. And they're expected to actually read that tool. And up at the top, right now you're not seeing it over here, but right here you actually get a quiz. And it says, okay, you're reading the micrometer. It's a 0 to 1 inch. So it tells them which size of micrometer they're reading. And you have to pick out of the multiple choice questions. If they happen to answer the question wrong, we're actually teaching them. It's saying, no, you were wrong, and it gives an explanation why they were wrong. So it's not just saying, yes, no, you're right, wrong. It's explaining it to them. It's a teaching tool to them. And after they've looked at the explanation, they can go back and they can answer the correct question from there.
How long does it take to set something like that up?
If you've done it a lot, it's not so bad. I mean, like this piece right here, and I'm going to explain a little bit. Like this right here is a very, we wanted the tools to come out of the classroom. So therefore, you know, we had to take photos of each and every measurement and put it in Second Life. And then we take these tools and put it into Photoshop and crop them to the sizes that we need and upload them to Second Life. So we want that to be more of an intense piece. But if you're setting up just a basic classroom where an instructor can log in and they just need like a whiteboard to put their presentation on, it's very simple. Very simple. So it kind of depends kind of what you're trying to achieve. We really wanted a piece coming out of the classroom, so it took a little bit more time on this, but the other ones don't. Mm-hmm.
For one of the people who's not familiar with this product, is there a huge cost to it, or?
Well, as you have to actually purchase or lease the land for Second Life. You know, you have to go in, it's a yearly lease for Second Life. But you'd actually just log in at home, and students could do this at home. It's free to actually load the software directly onto your computer. You set up an avatar, and then you can use that avatar to log into the Second Life environment. Us as a college, we've actually locked down the island, so only students can actually come into the island to do the classrooms. So you don't have a lot of other people, they call them griefers, that are coming in that use it for their social thing. So we lock it down so it's a safe environment for the students. So
Second Life has a, as Colleen said, you can get it on Second Life for free with an avatar, but the cost of an island, we work with New Media Consortium, who has a block of a series of educational islands kind of under an umbrella, G-rated material. Second Life has everything you can possibly imagine on there that could be online. The cost they talk about for leasing an island, if you were to go to Linden Labs and just straight up lease an island for a year, is $5,000. Now, depending on what you want on your island and who you're working with, you will pay less or more. But that's kind of the neighborhood for the island cost for a lease. It's not something where you're going to start into it at your house and say, well, we'll build it and it will come. But it is something where there is quite a bit established out there, and if you have relationships with people who are working in it, it is something where you can build upon. There's our mentor college, East Carolina University, has multiple islands. They started out with a few instructors that were teaching, and just their early enrollment right now, they have 500 to 750 early enrollment students, so secondary students that are taking college courses that from 10 to 15 or 15 to 20, I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head, of instructors who are teaching in Second Life. They're teaching courses. So that's a lot of FTE. You know, I mean, if you think about the costs of different islands and you think about maybe an additional 60 FTE, that's, you know, that's something that I think administrators probably would get on board with. It's the beginning part that's difficult.
So you talk about teaching a course. Are you using Second Life for the entire course, or is it just an activity or two that is utilized within a course?
Right now, we are using it as activities within courses, and we're also using it with outreach and recruiting activities. to get to a point where you have the combination of instructors, classrooms that have Second Life on the computers and all that set in there, there's only a few of our consortium partners that have that where we can test it. So it's a little bit more of an outreach and more of a, we go in there for a lab or 2 or 3 or 4.
So, is this stuff, if we had access to Second Life, our community college has articulation agreements with ECU, they're only about an hour from us.
Right?
Is this the kind of thing where we could say, will you let us have that code, or that will be whatever you put in there, 4 hours? Or is this where we could say, we'd like to have access to yours at certain times, or?
I think that would be a discussion you would want to have with Sharon Kibbe, I believe. Dr. Kibbe at East Carolina is the virtual site director for East Carolina's early enrollment.
Any other questions? Another unique thing that we do also put with these is the quizzes actually get emailed back to the instructor. So let's say we have all 5 colleges using the same classroom. Depending on if the student is actually like from Metro or Southeast or Central, it'll know which avatar is actually logging into the Second Life and doing the quiz, and it emails that test score right back to the instructor. So the instructor will get feedback that way and know if the student's doing their work or not. So.
Do you have any adaptive learning built into this, where based on the assessment, students might enter to a different path?
We don't have that built in now, but that's a possibility. Because what we'd actually like to do here on this particular piece is also recognizing the tool. So we're hearing from the instructors also that students might not know what a micrometer is, might not know what a steel rule is. So off to the side, we're going to put a tool bin. So they're going to have to recognize the tool. They come into here, they have to read the tool. And the next part is we're going to have another assembly line where you can have parts going down the assembly line. They're out of specs. And they're going to have to know, why are they out of calibration? I mean, which tool are they going to use to measure the inside of that part? How are they going to fix it? We're going to go a step further. So that's our plan and the vision for this piece. Okay, Dan?
Yeah. Well, we have, just like I said, there's not a lot you can do in 45 minutes, and we've kind of gone beyond the time we've allotted, but I have a couple of questions I want to ask real quick at the end, just to kind of follow up, revisit the clickers, and oh, by the way, I don't want you to keep the clickers. Please return them, because my training and development department would not be too happy with me. I came back without my clickers. Let's see where we're at here. All right, last but not least, we talked a bit about Second Life. We talked about some of the things we're doing in our project. And that card that we handed with all those QR codes on it, that's pretty significant. Now, I guess what I want to know, just if you could give me a little feedback, with those of you that have the clickers, this information is helpful to me. If you could go ahead and check on the response there. Okay, 3, 2, 1. And last but not least, I'm interested in partnering. I've worked with 3 federal programs that have all kind of built upon each other. One was in mechatronics, then one was in STEM education and working with business and with educators of STEM subjects. And now we're working back again with manufacturing sector with multiple partners. Certainly, one thing leads to another. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And with that being said, each and everything we have with the grant, how many of you are not TAC grantees? One more time, please raise your hand. Okay. The TAC program is part of 4 years of funding of $2 billion in funding that's gone out. There's 800 colleges that are part of it. It is part of the largest open educational resource development program in the world. There will literally are hundreds and hundreds of sources. There will be thousands of sources of full, complete resources that are being developed with this program. The link to that is skillscommons.org. It's on the back of that card I handed out. This is the attribution and disclaimer that the DOL is asking TAC grantees to have. We are able to use either a 3.0 or 4.0 Creative Commons attribution. The 4.0 is an international license. It's a simplified way of being able to say it's okay to share this material and these are the rules. And if you click on this, you would find what those restrictions are. Basically, as long as you give credit to the source institution, you can use it. I want to thank you for your time, and I want to say enjoy the rest of the conference. We're going to be up here as we're taking things down. We have business cards, we have material, we have other things. We would love to answer your more specific questions. I appreciate you indulging us, and we got a little bit late start, and appreciate you hanging in there. Thank you, everybody.